Welcome back to another edition of the 1004 Show. Thanks for joining us, 1004 Nation. So, what is your vision for your business or your life? Have you ever put one together? In today's episode, we are talking with Corey Shelton of Limelife Media. It's episode 72 of the 1004 Show, and we talk about how to create a vision, how to understand what your why is. And something that I think is insanely important that not enough people talk about is reflection. Looking back on a moment and realizing that it was just a moment. It's episode 72 of the 1004 Show with Corey Shelton. If you guys like this episode, share it with your friends and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Corey Shelton, what's up, man?
Zach, what's going on? Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. I like to start every episode with a difficult question.
Shoot.
So if you're watching this, you can see this. If you're listening, you can't. But so Corey has these really cool, contemporary glasses on. And I think they're new. Are these glasses new for you?
They're not new. I actually think I had them when I spoke for the Start with Hatch event a few months ago.
Okay,
so
well, you look different now that you're across the screen stuff. And
they're my smart glasses. That's what I say. They make me look way smarter.
So how long did it take you?
Gives me credibility.
There you go. How long did it take for you to select the glasses that you wanted?
About as long as it took for me to walk to the showcase. There wasn't a big selection of glasses, so these were the first ones. I already knew what I wanted. I wanted some black rimmed glasses like this to make me look smarter. So
there you go.
I immediately saw them and went for them. Yeah.
And you got cool slicked back hair. We're going to get to the point. There's a reason for this, I promise. Okay. Yeah, cool slicked back hair. Not as cool as my hair. But how do you're a branding expert though, right? You help put together brands for people. How important is the image of you, the person, to that brand?
Well, I think that's one of the most important things, especially, you have people that say don't judge a book by its cover, right? But we all do this. So when you meet somebody for the first time, you immediately make a judgment and assessment on those people. That's why for me, I'm very intentional about the way that I present myself to people, especially in specific situations. There are times where I'm out hanging out and I'll wear a hat. And then there are other times where I'm going to a meeting and I'll have, the button up and the glasses and look a little bit more presentable. And I think that all of those things tie back into your level of professionalism and also represent the level of service and the type of service that you bring. I mean, if you see somebody who's dressed, say, in a, more of like a hipsterish look, versus someone who looks maybe a little bit more old school or outdated, you immediately make an assessment or judgment on the type of product or service that person may be bringing to the table. So I don't necessarily try to feed into it, but I'm aware of it. And so there are times where, as a smart marketer, as a smart brander, I will tailor certain aspects of myself. I don't present myself inauthentically because this is who I am, but I'm very cognizant of those things. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Do you think we're getting closer to the world where your business professional look is not going to be the same forever anymore? Like, your button up, your suit and tie type of thing, that's what you're supposed to look like? Or do you think we're getting to a place where you can look like more like yourself and what you would like to be in a more comfortable type of way?
I think it's a mixture of both. And I think it really depends on the market that you're in. When you start talking about a little bit more of the slower moving, more professional markets, like, for example, the mortgage industry or the real estate industry or something like that, those industries, in my opinion, from a digital standpoint, from a brand standpoint, appear to move a little bit slower than, say, more of like the startups, like a Facebook or Twitter or any of those things, right? So the perception that people have of the people behind those kind of are reflected in those two things. There's a direct correlation, I think. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. How did you become a branding expert? Like, what's your background?
So I worked in the corporate world for a number of years, actually for a mortgage company. And part of my responsibility was leading some of the digital marketing teams. And part of that, obviously,
Did you wear a suit every day there?
No. I was fortunate enough to wear the culture at the time when I was there was very much like, because we are the quote unquote creative people, there is a little bit more open mindset in terms of what we were allowed to wear there. So it wasn't like we were wearing suits and ties. There are other organizations that force people to do that. Fortunately, that wasn't one of them.
So now you own your own business. You're the owner of LimeLifeMedia.co.
Yep.
Is having a .co better than having a .com?
No, .com is still definitely the king when it comes to domain names, but the .com at the time when I was looking at it, I think it was around $3,000 or $4,000 to buy.
And that just
And
wasn't
so,
worth it?
yeah, I mean, starting out, as a new business owner, new agency, that's something I would like to purchase a little bit later down the road, but it wasn't something that was vital to the success of, starting off. I think getting in front of people and being on social media and conveying who we are and what we offer to people is more important than the domain name extension, at least at this point.
You learned a lot of your skills while working at a corporation. You were able, who basically, let's just say that they incubated you. And then at some point you decided, hey, like, I have this skill set, I think I can do it on my own. Talk me through that whole process. Or is that kind of not how it happened?
Yeah, that's not. So my journey, I think similar to maybe some other entrepreneurs that started a little bit later on in life, it didn't go that way. So for me, I'd been working at this company for a number of years. A small team of us had really helped take the company from a local player to more of a national contender. We'd done a lot of exciting things, and then they kind of took a turn where they started trying to grow really fast in certain areas, specifically within the realm of marketing. And in my opinion, there wasn't necessarily a clearly defined vision of where we were going. And so direction without vision is kind of one of those things where it's, the vine will eventually wither. And that's sort of what happened in this situation. And for me, they ended up letting go of around, or the marketing department and the other subsequent departments had kind of ballooned up to a few dozen of people. And they eventually let those departments go. So myself, along with 30 plus other people, found ourselves in a strange position where even though we had been delivering great work, we got laid off. And so for me, I just had a decision to make. And I think for me, I realized that there's a false sense of security in the corporate world, right? Where even if you're delivering great work, even if you're a great employee and you're helping the company grow and build, at the end of the day, you're still just a function to the company, And that was something I realized, and it made me not want to do that again. And I realized with the things that I had learned, the skills that I had gained from being at that company, that I could go off and do my own thing. And so that's kind of the journey that I took.
Interesting. So you get laid off. Did you get a severance package or anything like that?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to where I got myself and a few other people, because we had been there for the amount of time, because we had, like I said, we had really helped the company grow. We got a pretty nice severance package. So it afforded me the ability to take some time to process what had happened, and to really kind of come up with a game plan of what was the direction I wanted my life to go from this point, and and I actually made the mistake where I partnered with somebody else after that, prior to starting Limelife Media, and we were going to start an agency. And long story short, ended up not working out the best. We went our separate ways. Still love the person, still a great relationship with them, but it wasn't the perfect match in terms of a partnership. And so I spent probably 5 to 6 months after getting laid off working on that, only for that to fail. And then finally, where I decided that, what, I need to go on this on my own. And then that's when Limelife Media was born in January of 2017.
Co-founders. What didn't work?
I think our vision. So we had a little bit of, when we originally started talking after we got laid off, we started talking about what we wanted to do, and I don't think we ever really got granular enough on that. And then also from a time perspective, really figuring out the timetable in which we were trying to move was just completely different. For me, I was trying to move quicker. There were ideas that I had where I wanted to grow a larger agency eventually, and I think that there was just some misalignment in terms of our overall goals and the way that we were trying to move and at the speed we were trying to move. And so, fortunately, I was able to catch that, you know, early enough to where it wasn't anything that was detrimental. And then, we splitted ways, still great friends, still respect the person, love the person, and, decided, hey, I need to, I think, try and go on this on my own.
Okay. So clearly defining your vision. Mortgage company didn't do it. You with the co-founder didn't do it. What's the clearly defined vision for Limelife? I mean, I have to do this to you, right? I have, like,
Yeah.
if you're going through this progressive scale, you tell me that,
Yeah,
okay, this
no.
company can't do it. I'm glad I'm out of it. I still love my co-founder, but we can't do a company. I'm out of it. If you have direction without vision, is that what you said? Direction without vision creates divine intervention. Is that what you said?
No, I was basically just saying that, direction without vision, in my opinion, is kind of like a shotgun blast. It kind of goes everywhere, but not really anywhere,
Got it.
from a distance standpoint. And for me, that's what I want, is I'm trying to go the distance. So does that make sense?
Yeah. So what's your vision then now?
So and I'll be honest with you, it's something that's continually evolving because Limelife Media is still, I would say, in its baby stages, where I'm constantly, and I'm not afraid to pivot either. That's the other thing too, is I think a lot of people pigeonhole themselves, and once they start going down a road, they kind of become bullheaded and dogmatic about their approach, and they don't have the ability to pivot. For me, I've never been like that. So for me though, right now, I would say that in a nutshell, Limelife Media is a brand strategy and digital agency that works with like-minded, purpose-driven companies and organizations from strategy to execution to help them build their brand and grow their business. And for me, Limelife Media is really just an extension of who I am and why I believe that I'm here, which is it's all about leaving a legacy, making an impact, creating a positive, winning mindset in those that we work with and come across, and engaging with others in a meaningful way that at the very least, change their day, and at the very most, hopefully change their life. And I believe that we can have an impact like that.
So how do you create a vision? How do you put together? How do you know, like, what is supposed to be associated with that?
I think man, that's a big question. I think that it kind of boils down into two things on, what do you feel like is your why? What's your purpose? And then kind of retroactively scaling everything from that. So it's kind of starting with the end in mind of what is it that you want to do. And for me, I love branding. I love working and building things in the digital sphere. But ultimately, my goal is to leverage those things that I'm great at, that I'm passionate about, to help change people's lives through business. Because I really believe that working with open-minded, like-minded, for impact, purpose-driven companies, who are capable of looking beyond them just themselves, that they can change the world. Some can change it more than others. Some may be in a local sense, some more in a global sense. But at the end of the day, I feel like if I can help those companies do more and help impact more, help them influence their employees, make the lives of their employees better, give money back to the community, all of those things, then for me, I feel like that's really kind of what my purpose is wrapped up in. Does that make sense?
A lot of buzzwords. Are you did you steal it from Oprah? No, I'm kidding. So what I think is really interesting about you, and I didn't believe this when you and I first connected, you're an introvert.
Yeah.
You don't, in my opinion, come across as an introvert. You have your own podcast. You communicate well. You're creative. You are vibrant in the way that you dress. But you're doing a lot of things that make you really uncomfortable. So, how do you, one, define that I am uncomfortable in these things? And then two, how do you start the process of getting out of that shell so that you can really help fill that vision?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely would consider myself an introvert, and I think that my desire to grow outweighs my fear of failing. I'm not I'm not the best speaker or the most articulate speaker. That's definitely a skill that I'm working on, to match the other skills that I have. But I think that we're all faced with a decision where we can either succumb to our fears and live a life that's not fully lived, or we can make a decision to say, hey, I'm willing to fail, I'm willing to make mistakes, and I'm going to learn from those things. And it's only through the uncomfortable moments that you actually grow. I love going to the gym, and the only way that you're going to get bigger, that you're going to get healthier, that you're going to force your muscles to grow is by going to the gym, breaking down those muscles, and then allowing, yeah, there you go. And then allowing them to heal up. So I think that people say failure. I don't really look at it as failure unless you give up. I look at it as lessons learned. So I mean, this is actually my first time being on a podcast, like I told you before the show, and I'm sure that a month from now, 6 months from now, I'll look back and I'll be like, man, I could have said X, Y, and Z way better. But you never get to that point of becoming better until you take the first step. And inherently, you are not going to be as good on your first step as you are your 100th step. So for me, I feel like my purpose, my calling, my why is so big that it outweighs my fear of looking stupid, of failing, of trying something new. And so, that's where I'm at. I'm forcing myself to live an uncomfortable life by sometimes stepping out as more of an extrovert.
I love just doing something and then years later looking back and be like, damn, I sucked at that.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important because while I might have this show now, while I might host a TV show now, while I might get in front of a lot of people, I know that I can always improve from it. And what's really interesting is I think those times where I did the, daily Google Hangout videos in front of people and would link it to a Facebook page in 2012, 2011, 2013 when I was a nobody really helped me because I would feel more comfortable in the new situations now. Going and speaking at a Rotary or a 1 Million Cups or a Startup Night or whatever it might be, all those little things are just practice. I think the one of the buzzwords that really irks me, though, is failure. Because I don't think most people are actually failing, and I think you alluded to it as well, right? And so I get it. It's a sexy word. It's a buzzword, whatever. But, most people aren't failing, right? Failure is probably giving up to most people, right? Failure is, literally not winning. And it's a word that I think has just been so thrown overboard and so overused. I'm like, I don't really think that you going up to someone and asking them for if they want to buy your idea and they don't buy it doesn't mean that you're failing. It means that you just are you're learning something. You haven't got in front of the right people yet. And I just failure I think is very overrated. I love this about introverts though, or you being an introvert and getting out of that comfortable piece. What's one of the scariest things that you've done since? Recognizing in the last year or so that to be someone to fulfill your vision that you've done that you feel better with now, or like, wow, I'm glad that's over, or we're in such sweaty palms or whatever.
I mean, doing what I'm doing right now,
Are you nervous right now?
Friend. Yeah, I honestly, yeah, I am a little bit nervous right now. It's one of those things where there's a feeling of, if I mess up, am I going to lose business? Is somebody going to think I'm stupid or silly or whatever? That's me being transparent. There are those feelings of where I know that I'm not the best or the most articulate speaker, but at the same time, I feel like that I have something to say and something to add and contribute to the world that, for me, if I'm able to encourage just one person, that if there's 100 other people that think what I say was dumb or didn't make sense, it doesn't matter because that one person was worth it.
Hey, Zach, Tommy Holland here, man. Hope all is well. I enjoy watching all the Hatch stuff on Facebook, man. I'm really getting a lot from it. But, hey, I got a question for you. I'm doing something kind of, you're doing something a little unique and different in the real estate part, and I'm doing it with YouTube. And here's my question. I don't know if you have the answer or if you can direct me to someone I can inquire about. I'm trying to set up, obviously like a channel. What I'm reading is it takes like 100 subscribers before, let's just say I can set up a channel, Tommy Holland 757 House Hunter, and be able to, I guess you could say, do something with a print or a text or even social media, I guess you could say, trying to direct them where they go straight to that YouTube channel. They can't. What I'm finding out is I can't just put Tommy Holland 757 House Hunter. They type that in as a search on YouTube and find me. It's like 749BR549. You with me as far as the link goes? So I'm just looking for resources on how can I either shorten that link or, like I said, I want something very specific. I'm actually doing it in neighborhood names. So if you have any advice on that, you can, I think you can respond back to this. This is BombBomb. This is a new video thing platform that I'm using. Or again, maybe record something or whatever, or direct me to the right person. All right. I appreciate it, Zach. Hope all is well, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, Tommy, thanks for the question, man. Really appreciate it. So you're right. Right now, because you don't have 100 subscribers, you cannot change your URL. So the goal right now should be trying to get to those 100 subscribers. A couple of ways that you can do that. Well, when you do every video, ask people to subscribe. Also, you can take the icon of your business and put it and overlay it basically on every video, and it will, if you click it, it will allow people to subscribe. The goal right now shouldn't be, I think, really doing anything other than trying to get those subscribers up, because one, when they do subscribe, they get an email saying that there's a new video up, and then also you can change that URL as well. But in the meantime, while you're trying to do it, here's a couple of ways that you can do it. You can go to bit.ly, it's bit.ly, and that's a URL shortener, so then every time you have a video, you can just send them to that link. So it'd be bit.ly, and then / whatever that kind of custom name that you want it to be. So if it's neighborhood in Chesapeake, Virginia, you'll be able to do that. You could also do 757 Tommy Holland, whatever it is that you want. Another thing that you can do is your URL / whatever the custom URL that you want in there, and then embed the video of that link. And number one, you get the tracking from the embed in that link, but then also when you're going to be using the subscribing on there as well. So hopefully people will subscribe from that inside the video on your website. And then another way that I would also think about increasing those subscribers so that you can get that custom URL is ask people to do it on Facebook, on your social media. I'm sure you have thousands of contacts in an email. You could send them out, hey, subscribe to my new YouTube channel. And once you get to 100, you can change that URL. Hope this helps, man. Talk soon. What is Corey Shelton the best in the world at?
Encouraging people. That's what I tell people. I always tell people I'm a professional encourager. I think is my gift, and I think that the work that I do, the interactions that I have with people on a personal, professional level, whatever it is, I think that that's the one thing that always pours out is my love for people and to want to see people win, succeed, and to do that through encouraging them.
About 6 months ago, you told a story on your Facebook page where a local convenience shop, you kept going in and out, and you started a relationship with the teller or the I guess the teller.
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Tell me about that story.
And
is teller the right word, by the way? I mean, probably teller.
I don't know.
What are they called? Cashier.
Yeah, cashier. That would probably be it. Employee. I don't know.
Employee. Yeah.
That moment actually is kind of when it made me realize that everything I really feel like clicked, and I said that being an entrepreneur, having my own business, this is what I was meant for. And the reason I say that is because, like you said, I was going in and out on every day, seeing the same person. And for me, I always try to be intentional when I see people. So, you go into 7-Eleven or other places and you just see people kind of checking in and checking out, like, here, take my money, serve me, let me get my stuff, I'm out of here, right? And for me, I try to make every interaction that I have with people as intentionally good as possible. So actually looking people in the eye, acknowledging that they are human and that I see them, and asking them how their day is. And so I built up a little bit of rapport with this lady. And so I went in this particular day and I was just asking her how her day was. And I could tell she was a little bit bummed out. And so I was asking her, like, hey, tell me, like, what's going on, basically. And so she was just telling me how she was tired, and how basically that her son was going to a good school, but one of the problems that they had is she was a single mom, didn't have money to buy him a computer, and so that they would have to constantly go to the library to do work, which obviously if she's working however many hours a day at 7-Eleven, and she had another job, and she's trying to take care of her son, and she's having to take him to the library, that can be something that weighs on you as a person. And so as I was leaving, we finished talking. And as I was leaving, I just felt like there was something inside of me of saying, hey, you can do something for this person, And for me, it's kind of one of those things like, well, what can I do? And my immediate thought was, you can go buy her a computer, despite the fact that, I'm not balling out right now. I'm not the richest, wealthiest person right now. But I had an opportunity where I felt like I could go to Best Buy and I could purchase a computer for her and come back and bless her and hopefully change her day. And that's what I did. I went to Best Buy, found a nice computer, came back, and I walked in and I said, hey, I have something for you. And she immediately saw the Best Buy bag and she's like, what did you do? Like, what did you do? And I was like, I got you something. I want to show you. So she came to the end of the counter, and I presented her with the computer, and I said, look, and I had a note in there, and I can't remember everything the note said right now, but it was to her son. And I basically just said in the note to her son, I said, you don't know me and I don't know you, but I believe in your future. And this is an investment into your future, because I believe in the man that you can become. And, she, of course, started crying, gave me a big hug, and was thanking me. And every day, to this day, when I go in there, she literally calls me her angel. Like, the whole place could be like filled up in 7-Eleven. When I come in, she's like, that's my angel back there. And for me, that was a moment where I realized that if I was a 9-to-5 employee, if I was doing those type of things, I wouldn't have been in that position to help this person. And for me, that's what this is all about. It's about encouraging people. It's about having these rare opportunities that you only get when you're living this type of lifestyle. And so, yeah, it was a really cool moment, and I'm looking forward to a lot more moments like that.
Very powerful. That was it was cool to read about. So let's talk a little bit about Limelife Media. You guys can learn about them at limelifemedia.co. That's CO. Talking with Corey Shelton, founder and owner of Limelife Media, on the 1004 show. It's episode 76. Tell me about kind of what you guys do, what's your specialty, and how you've kind of evolved and figured out that that's what you guys are best at.
So like I said before, what we do is we focus on brand strategy and digital solutions. I know that the term digital solutions can be a little bit broad, and I do that specifically because there are, like, rather than just saying web development or something like that, there are a multitude of different services that fall in the digital sphere of things that we can offer services, from web development to setting up sales funnels, and other digital marketing strategies like, list building, email list building, things like that. But those are really the two core things that I think that we are great at, is developing brand strategy and executing it in the digital media. And how I guess I would say, for me, those two things are intrinsically tied to one another. You see a lot of people that are just in digital marketing, and at the end of the day, marketing isn't always the solution to somebody's problem. And I think at the core of every business, a major problem that a lot of businesses have is the fact that they view themselves as a business and not a brand. And there's a huge distinction between thinking at yourself as a business versus a brand. The business is focused in on the benefits and features. The brand is focused more on the why we exist and everything flowing out from that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Email marketing is something that you guys do and help people with. Why is something like that so popular now? And is it really a strategy that people can use, implement, and succeed with?
So I think it depends on what your business model is. If you don't have people coming to your business, or if you're not, I think there are different products that are more conducive to that. I think that building an email list is great, but again, if you don't have a lot of traffic coming to your site, then maybe it doesn't make sense. Or maybe pivoting a little bit, and if your business is very heavy in Facebook, of leveraging something like Facebook Messenger as a tool to kind of pair that with your email marketing strategy. There are a number of different things that you can do. I don't think that email marketing is dead or is necessarily overrated. As with anything, it's a matter of finding the right tool for the job and matching that up to your business and what your overall goals are.
I like the way that you said that, because I think a lot of people will just automatically implement one strategy because they heard it somewhere. And I think
right.
that the key is really figuring out what works and what doesn't. So how do you know how do you know that it is the right strategy or not? Email marketing or whatever type of strategy, right? How do you know if something is working?
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of a little bit of a loaded question from the standpoint of,
but people are going to people. That's what people do. Right? They look at something and go, "Oh, I did this ad on Facebook and I didn't make any money on it." Well,
you're right, and that I would say is a whole nother issue where I think that people expect immediate results, and that is something that is inherently a wrong assumption, right? I think that in order to do any of these things, when you're talking about digital marketing, there's no one size fits all strategy for any company at all, period. And I think that in order to find the best, the most optimal, the successful strategy that is going to work for your business, you kind of have to have an experimenter's mindset. You have to be willing to try different things and see what works and what doesn't work. Now, you do that in a controlled way, but you have to be willing to say, hey, I know that if I create this one ad, it may not bring a return, but I'm going to tweak it. I mean, a lot of those things boil down to the offer that you're giving. I mean, a lot of people, the thing that they're offering, it's not really providing any kind of value to their customer or the audience base that they're trying to attract. So of course, you're not going to get anybody to sign up for your email list. Of course, no one's going to click your Facebook ad, And so it kind of goes back to that. Are you trying to position yourself in a way to just constantly get something, or are you trying to actually provide value? Because that, especially nowadays, is what's going to attract people.
So you're not going to get immediate results, but we live in an immediate world. I believe that since it's June 12th of 1994, we've been in a 24/7 world. That's when the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase happened, by the way, if you're wondering. And I think ever since then, we've wanted things immediately, and everything has evolved so that everything we can get immediately. So what you're telling me is that even though we live in the immediate world,
yep,
it's not going to work this way. So how much time do I spend on this? How much money do I spend on this? When is it going to start working for me? I mean, are these questions that your prospects are asking you?
Sure. And again, it's kind of one of those things where it's until I sit down with someone individually and speak with them about their unique situation and what their goals are and map out that strategy, there's not anything for someone to say, oh, generally speaking, this is how it is. If someone's coming to you saying that, to me, that would already be a red flag of you don't know what you're talking about and all you're trying to do is get my money. Because that's just not how it works. There isn't oh, well, if you come to me and you're asking me about a specific marketing vertical, this is what it's going to be for your ads. This is what it's going to cost. Now, once you begin testing and that costs money, I mean, you can't have, I think that the question that you're asking is innovation versus efficiency. And those two things can't coexist. And I've seen that even in the past company that I worked for, where they wanted to have innovation, but they also wanted to have efficiency. And you can't have those things. If you're trying to innovate, if you're trying to do something new, then you inherently have to spend the upfront resources to test things out and see what's going to work. Now, once you do find what is working, then you can start investing more of your time and money in measuring those things to ensure that you're not just throwing money out there. But you have to be willing, and that's why it's called an investment, to test out these different avenues, especially depending upon which marketing vertical or type of business you have.
Who is Corey Shelton?
Oh man, that's an interesting question. I think it's TBD. I think it's to be determined. I think that who I was 3 years ago. I mean, just to give some context, all of us have been through things in our life that have obviously shaped us and pointed us in different directions. And I'll be completely candid about talking through maybe a couple of my situations. So, in my early 20s, almost died from a motorcycle accident. The girl that I was dating at the time, found out she was two-timing me and all this stuff. And I remember being laid up, at my parents' house, no less, for about 3 months. She ended up leaving me. I went through this whole big ordeal of this relationship, right? Sucked. But I learned a lot of things through that, and I recovered and recuperated. In my late 20s, I'm 35, so in my late 20s, I met somebody else, got married. I went to finished up my degree at ODU, and then that person came home one day and told me that they had cheated on me. So went through a painful divorce process and all this stuff, and then being at this company, and then all of a sudden getting laid off. I say all of these things because they're all major moments in my life where it caused me to reflect on who I was and where I was and who I wanted to be. And so I say to be determined because I'm currently in a moment in my life where I'm still trying to figure things out. The one thing I will say that I figured out is that regardless of the situations that occur to you, you always have a choice in how you respond to them. And I've been on both sides of the fence of this, whether it's, going through a bad relationship, bad breakup. Luckily I'm in an amazing relationship right now with the most beautiful woman on the planet. It's awesome. And the bottom line is you can either allow your situations to determine your future, or you can take charge of it yourself. And I think, for right now, for me, I am focused in on who it is that I want to become, which is somebody who changes other people's lives, who is open enough and transparent enough, which is also a scary thing. Even just saying those three different things that I said to you is a scary thing. Talking about being laid off or going through a divorce, a lot of people want to hide those things. I've had my season where I wanted to hide those things. I didn't want to talk about them. And so for me, I feel like that the skills that I have from a brand and a digital standpoint, coupled with the desire and the experiences I've gone through, the painful experiences, to want to help people and to lift people up, I think it's going to put me in a unique position to not just help build people up, but also companies. So does that make sense?
Reflection is so important.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a powerful thing. I think I often look back years later, months later, and say, wow, I've come a long way. And I think you have to go through those experiences to improve. And it sounds like, who Corey Shelton is a powerful person who's gone through a lot, but is writing the world and creating the world that he wants. And I think that's powerful. And I think as you continue to reflect on the good and the bad, you're going to find something very unique and awesome for yourself. I want to play a word association game, or a couple of words, and tell me what your thoughts are when I say these words. I've never done this before. So, as we're breaking your podcast virginity, I want to do the word association virginity thing. Cool?
Okay.
So we're equal. Amazon.
Big.
That actually works because it could be for the rainforest or the company. Hey. Business.
Growth.
Apple.
I.
Okay. The Price is Right.
Today.
What about the TV show The Price is Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Email marketing. Okay. Branding.
Differentiation.
Being laid off.
Blessing.
Isn't it always interesting how a lot of people who've been laid off or gone through such a traumatic or dramatic situation always probably use that word blessing? It's always interesting.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to find that.
Again, I think that it boils down to it's a matter of perception and you deciding your own fate of who you're going to be. You know, you can't control what happens outside of these fingertips, but you can control everything else that's inside, you know, and you get a choice. You get a say in the matter.
That's great. Champions.
I don't know. That's a weird one because my mind just completely went blank. I'm going to be honest with you.
Who is a champion to you then?
Oh man, that's an easy one. I would say my family, and different members in my family for different reasons. My mom and my dad for sure. My dad is like my best friend, my hero. Like, I mean, they have been the most supportive, incredible people on the planet. My mom is a breast cancer survivor, and watching her go through that whole ordeal and being a part of the family and just realizing that it's really easy to, and this kind of ties into even the laid off thing, it's really easy to think that these major moments in your life are major moments when in reality all it is just a moment. And that's one thing I realized, you know, with my mom. You know, she is such a fighter, and seeing her go through that and overcome the challenges that she's faced through breast cancer has given me such a degree of passion and grit and tenacity. And when these things come up, you know, when you face challenges, whether it's getting laid off or a relationship ending or whatever it may be, of just saying, you know, I'm not going to take this lying down. And even if I fall, I'm going to fall forward so that I can see the direction I'm going to go when I get back up.
Amazing. Powerful. Corey Shelton, I appreciate your time. You guys can learn about Corey and his business, limelifemedia.co. Check out the show notes. If you guys enjoyed this, you guys can also check him out at the Corey Shelton on most social medias, you know, because it's like the Ohio State, Corey Shelton. Corey Shelton, appreciate your time, brother.
Thanks, Zach. I appreciate it. Look forward to next time.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of the 1004 Show. I want to tell you guys about something that we just released that we're super passionate about. It's called Inbox. It's a series of scenarios that business owners have inevitably had to go through. And what do they do when they go through these? Stuff like, what happens when you get a bad review on social media? Or more deadly, what do you do when a customer tells you that they can't pay you for the work that you've done? Check it out in the show notes or at startwithhatch.com/inbox.